About 17 miles northeast of Amarillo, Texas, is a massive industrial facility surrounded by farmland, empty plains, and circular irrigation fields. From above, it does not look unusual, but this is the Pantex Plant, the primary facility where the United States assembles, maintains, and dismantles nuclear weapons. When a weapon is retired from the American nuclear stockpile, this is where it's brought to be taken apart. Its electronics are removed, its conventional explosives are separated, and its plutonium core is placed into storage. In other words, this is where many of America's nuclear weapons go to die. Pantex originally opened in 1942 as a conventional munitions factory during the Second World War. Workers filled bombs and artillery shells here until the plant closed following the end of the war. The federal government reclaimed the property in 1951 and converted it for nuclear weapons work. Since 1975, Pantex has served as the country's primary center for the assembly, disassembly, modification, and life extension of nuclear weapons. Today, the site covers approximately 17,000 acres and contains more than 500 buildings, but the operational areas occupy only part of that land. Much of the remaining space provides separation between dangerous operations and creates a large safety and security buffer around the facility. This heavily developed section is Zone 12, the main weapons assembly and disassembly area. It covers approximately 200 acres and contains more than 100 buildings where nuclear weapons can be assembled, maintained, or taken apart. Some of the most important structures here are known as Gravel Gerties. Inside these reinforced cells, workers can handle nuclear components and the conventional high explosives surrounding them. Suspended above the room are tons of gravel, soil, and other material. If the explosives were to detonate accidentally, the structure is designed to vent the pressure upward while the roof collapses inward. The falling debris would help contain the radioactive material and limit how far it could spread. The original Gravel Gerties were constructed between 1956 and 1958. From above, we can identify the general area containing these structures, although the exact function of every individual building is not publicly identified. I believe these are the Gravel Gerties, but I can't know for sure. They're covered with something called Gulf Seal, and I think that resembles that. Another interesting aspect on these buildings up top here are these covered walkways between maybe what is maybe the first stage, maybe things are wheeled in here and then make their way down into here, the full disassembly. But everything is kind of covered, and this structure here is interesting to me. All these walkways kind of lead over into this. Another thing that stands out is the double fenced off outside perimeter, and it looks like pretty thick too. I can't tell if that's a car or a radio, but there's definitely two fences followed by a ring of these bash barriers. So whatever's in here is very sensitive and secure. One thing that really stood out to me about this facility is there's no airfield around. How do these bombs get here? Maybe they're driven here. They must be. Maybe that's something the OST handles, the Office of Secure Transportation. But I find that very interesting. North of Zone 12, where we just were, is Zone 4. These are earth-covered storage magazines, often called igloos. Zone 4 is used for temporarily holding weapons and weapon components, including the interim storage of plutonium removed during dismantlement operations. The plutonium core of a nuclear weapon is commonly called a pit. Once removed, a pit may be stored, monitored, evaluated for possible reuse, or eventually sent elsewhere for disposition. The exact current inventory is not publicly confirmed, but Pantex is known to hold a very large collection of these components. Despite how the mounds appear from above, they are not entrances to a giant underground city. They are primarily horizontal, earth-covered storage structures. Here's a close look at some on the right side, and then some on the left. I think the right side is newer than the left side. But what's funny is the older side looks completely secured. They don't seem to have a thick road like they do on this side. You can tell that's a new road with an old infrastructure. Over here is new infrastructure with not a lot going on, unless that's the security perimeter right there. All different kinds of things around. But over here we have a very thick road inside an already secure facility. Near Playa 3 on the northern side of Pantex is an area officially known as the Burning Ground, which is a great band name. Here, conventional explosives, explosive components, and contaminated materials removed during dismantlement are destroyed through controlled burning and flashing. not in a nuclear explosion, but by disposing of the chemical explosives that once surrounded the weapon's nuclear core. On the eastern side of the property are 5 enormous wind turbines installed as part of the Pantex Renewable Energy Project. According to Pantex's more recent history material, these turbines can generate approximately 40% of the plant's electricity usage. It creates a strange contrast. A renewable energy project operating beside a facility responsible for maintaining some of the most destructive weapons ever built. The large circles surrounding Pantex are ordinary center pivot agricultural fields, not decoys. About 5,800 acres south of the main facility are owned by Texas Tech University and leased to the federal government as agricultural research land and a safety buffer. The flat, open terrain also makes it difficult to approach the facility's sensitive areas without being seen. Looking back at the site historically, it looks like it wasn't even there in 1941, and by 1959 it's in and fully operational. You can even get a really good look at the original Gravel Gerties that really looked covered in gravel, not with that earth seal stuff. I believe that's them. And it looks like a lot of the site was still under construction at this time. Some kind of AC unit there maybe. And here are some of those storage bins that have been there since about 1959. So I was wrong to say that some of those are older and newer. They're both there at the same time. 1967, a lot of things have started to go in. Looks like there's a lot more construction. A lot of those buildings are being put in that we see there today. And they've upgraded those. So those are definitely the Gravel Gerties, or a section of them. Boom, and now they're covered with some kind of sealant. 1970s. They put in a bigger one right in the midst of the Cold War here. And then this is about the time the Cold War is over now, 1996. And the facility shifted away from a lot of the building to maybe the dismemberment and storage. A lot of this has grown up there. Satellite imagery shows us the facility's layout, but historical photographs allow us to see what happened inside some of these otherwise anonymous buildings. Here, one of the workers are containing a pit. Notice the tie and mustache. Guy means business. One thing I want to point out in the background are these things on the wall. We don't really know what these are. One of our community members suggested maybe these are part of the detection system to detect things coming out and detect a problem. And if you have any guess at what these are, please let us know down below. And here we have Bill Clinton, a young Bill Clinton, working on an AT-400. Just kidding. That guy does look like Bill Clinton, though. I think that's what they call a pit, and I think in the last picture, that's what's contained. That'd be my guess. But notice their big lead vests, I assume, like when you go to the dentist office and have x-rays taken. Here's a closer look at the AT-400 container. Those are some really nice welds right there. Another picture of what I think is them handling a pit. I think these are components after being disassembled, awaiting recycling. Another picture from what has to do with, I think, the AT-400, and I'd guess right there that they're pulling it apart versus pushing it together, just the way the hands are placed. That's my guess. What do you think? An especially interesting collection was assembled by nuclear historian Alex Wellerstein. During the 1980s and 90s, Pantex crews sometimes posed for group photographs beside the weapons or bomb casings they had worked on. This is a W-55 warhead. Look how small that thing is. This is the B-57 nuclear weapon. I wonder why the one guy's sitting. Here's the B-83 group. Notice the low zipper. Maybe it's got to be hot in there. This is what one of our community members called Gilligan's Nuclear Island. I thought that was funny. I think these are interns, summer interns posing. B-61 nuclear weapon test engineers. W-80 nuclear weapon engineers. And some of the people that worked there. One of the strangest Pantex records was released publicly in July 2026 as part of the new collection of unresolved government UAP files. In September 2015, Pantex surveillance radar detected an unidentified object moving north near the western side of the facility at approximately 10 to 15 miles per hour. Security officers described it as roughly diamond-shaped, around 4 feet tall and 2 feet wide, with no sound or visible propulsion system. The object was followed by security personnel and filmed from a surveillance tower before continuing north beyond the plant. The report states that it never approached sensitive nuclear assets and was not considered threatening, but the available footage was too distant to identify it. The evidence was eventually turned over to the FBI, and the released report does not explain what the object was. To me, it looks like some kind of drone, but the no sound or propulsion is interesting. Maybe it was a test of a new government craft, testing the radar of this facility, because this is like one of the most secure facilities in the United States. So maybe this was a test rig or something like that. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. One of Pantex's most serious legacies is underground. The 2024 Annual Site Environmental Report in Chapter 6 talks about groundwater at Pantex. Decades of wastewater discharged into unlined ditches, ponds, and playas contaminate a shallow groundwater zone roughly 200 to 300 feet below the surface. The plume containing RDX, perchlorate, hexavalent chromium, and TCE has spread south and east beyond parts of the plant boundary. Beneath it lies the Ogallala Aquifer, a major drinking and irrigation source about 400 to 500 feet below Pantex. The plant uses pump and treat and underground bioremediation systems, but its 2024 report found explosive compounds above cleanup standards in 4 deeper monitoring wells. Pantex says those wells are away from water supplies. Nearby drinking and irrigation water remains safe, and additional wells were planned to determine the contamination's extent. Early Pantex workers faced potential exposure to radiation, high explosives, solvents, and metals. A NIOSH mortality study found no elevated overall or brain cancer mortality among the workers examined. Leukemia deaths were elevated but did not consistently increase with employment duration, while possible links involving prostate cancer and multiple myeloma appeared in one subgroup. Researchers cautioned that bias and limited data made those findings difficult to generalize. Former Pantex workers are now covered by dedicated medical screening programs, and some qualify for federal compensation for occupational illness. Pantex is a facility built around contradictions. It began as a World War II bomb factory and became one of the most important sites in the American nuclear weapons system. Retired warheads arrive here to be dismantled, but their dangerous materials do not simply disappear. Conventional explosives must be destroyed, contaminated sites must be cleaned, and plutonium components may remain in storage for decades. From above, Pantex looks like a collection of industrial buildings, dirt-covered mounds, farmland, and wind turbines. But every part of this landscape reflects the enormous challenge of building, maintaining, and eventually taking apart weapons powerful enough to destroy entire cities. Pantex may be where nuclear weapons go to die, but the physical and environmental legacy they leave behind can survive for much longer. I linked a book in the description. A quiet cosmic horror story about a janitor who finds a forgotten signal fragment called Zero Alpha. The signal leads him to a buried structure deep in the woods, something ancient, seamless, and not meant for human contact. When it wakes, it does not understand him, but it does classify him, and once the sweep starts, there's nowhere left to hide. Not an affiliate link, just a recommended read. Check it out. Or maybe you're interested in Albatross by Greg Potter. A brilliant Silicon Valley inventor is pulled into a hidden battle over lost alien technology with the power to reshape the world. With the help of a gifted psychic, he must master its secrets before shadowy forces use it to control one of Earth's most vital resources. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed exploring the Pantex plant from above. Let me know what stood out to you the most, from the Gravel Gerties and plutonium storage bunkers to the unidentified object tracked near the facility and the contamination hidden beneath it. And if you have another strange, overlooked, or hard-to-explain location you want investigated, drop a pin on the community map or leave a comment below. All links in the description. Stay above it, and take care. Bye.